Summer of the Mariposas, Chapter 21. The Crown. The biggest, most precious crown belongs to a humble queen. Telling a woman who had just gotten her daughters back not to worry was like telling the river not to roll. But I couldn't help leaving. I finally understood what I was supposed to do with Las Rosas Tonantzin had bestowed upon me. There was only one person who needed to be reminded of who she was, and that was La Llorona. Her sadness, her grief over her lost children overwhelmed her. Maybe the roses were a token from the Virgencita, a small light in her otherwise gloomy existence, a gift to brighten her spirits. Although how they were meant to transform her, I had no idea. All I knew is that she was definitely the only other mother the Virgencita could have been talking about. She was, by her own account, responsible for the death of her own children. If anybody needed a magical remedy for her plight, it was La Llorona. As I pedaled my bike down El Indio Highway in the stillness of the dark summer night, I could feel the magical power of the roses propelling me toward the Rio Grande. Lying sideways within the basket attached to the front of my bike, the rosas shimmered in the moonlight like fallen stars, and I took special care not to ride too fast for fear of having the roses fly off or fall onto the road. I pedaled down our soft dirt path through the woods, all the way down to the river's edge, where I hoped I might find her. I stopped, still straddling my bike, and at first all I could hear was the river, its waters churning out an eerie lullaby. Then, as the reverberation of my own heartbeat stopped hammering loudly against my eardrums, I heard her. Hers was a distant, unending sob, echoing the mournful song of the ancient river as it passed by. I picked up the roses and dismounted my bike, letting it fall to the ground as I walked toward the water. My legs felt like thin fideo noodles from pedaling so hard, but I didn't let that stop me. Slowly I made my way through the brush toward the place we'd met that first time. There she was, a spectral figure illuminated by a sad, wavering light. "I think these are for you," I said, holding the roses toward La Llorona. "Rosas?" she asked, bemused by the white, blushing petals glowing magically in the dark. She didn't reach for them. "For me?" "Yes," I whispered. "A gift from the Virgen de Guadalupe for all you've done for us." "I was only honoring a request," she whispered, still not taking the roses. Her longing was almost palpable. "I was merely following orders given by one who is wiser than you or I. It is part of my penance." "You were following more than orders. You were following your heart." I deposited the roses into her arms. She took the bundle and cradled it lovingly in her embrace, as if it were a fragile baby. "Gracias," she whispered. The thin rivulet of a tear fell quietly down her pale cheekbone, disappearing into the darkness. "You deserve them." The tear stain on her cheek began to glisten. The shine spread across her skin inch by inch. Then right before my eyes, her tired, middle-aged face regained a bright, youthful complexion. The skin of her bare arms and face glowed with health and vitality. But her skin was not the only thing transformed. Her entire facade changed, until the ghostly La Llorona became as radiant and alive as a young woman bronzed by the sun. Behind her, a newly emerged brood of tiny snout-nosed butterflies crawled out from under the spiny hackberry bushes and began to creep upon her. They fanned their wings in slow motion as they made their way up her long, pale dress, from the hem up to her neckline, forming an intricate floral pattern. Once in place, they sat perfectly still for a moment, and then the fabric of her gown came alive. Delicate silver and gold threads unraveled and wove themselves into fragile wings of the frozen mariposas, converting the tiny creatures into magical designs stitched meticulously into the bodice of La Llorona's gown. To crown her beauty, a floral wreath appeared on her head, transforming her into an Aztec princess. The metamorphosis was bedazzling, and I was mesmerized by her exquisite face, her dark, luminous eyes, her appreciative smile. It was so breathtaking, the change in La Llorona. It rendered me speechless. Then, out of the corner of my eye, a light swirled and unfurled beside us. I took a step back as La Virgen de Guadalupe, Tonantizin, materialized. Shocked by her appearance, both La Llorona and I dropped to our knees and bowed our heads. Great Mother, La Llorona said as she knelt before Tonantizin, we are grateful for your divine presence. It is I who am grateful, the Virgen said in her serene, heavenly voice. Rise, my most cherished children, mis mariposas. The Virgin Mother is kind and generous. La Llorona remained kneeling, clutching the roses to her chest. She honors me with this transformation. You have done well, my daughter. Your migration through the voyage of pain and sorrow has been hard, but you are at the end of your journey. The ancients have waited a long time for you to emerge, to spread your wings, to take flight, and now they are ready for you to come home. The Virgen lifted her right arm and opened her hand. Millions of tiny specks of gold flew out from the center of her palm. The iridescent particles soared above La Llorona and fell over her in a divine shower that bathed her in what I can only describe as sunlight. Lighter and lighter, La Llorona grew until she was more than translucent. She was a silhouette of radiance. Rise, Melitisin, rise, faithful daughter, Tonantisin commanded. It is time for you to be reunited with your loved ones. Time for you and your children to claim your place among the stars. Beside me, La Llorona's silhouette began to disappear until she was completely gone. Then, to my amazement, I heard distant but distinct sounds, a whisper of music, and something else. The laughter of children coming from high up in the sky. In the heavens, 5 bright blue stars climbed out of the horizon and up into the studded sky. They circled each other playfully before settling into the right among a cluster of smaller stars, forming a new constellation just below Ursa Major, woman and her 2 children, forever reunited in the sky. So this is what it was all about? A new constellation? A new life in the universe? I whispered, overwhelmed by the magic my sisters and I had helped the goddess create. Yes, restoring that which was once lost. You have done your part, my tiniest of butterflies, Tonantisin said, turning to me. Odelia, you are a true princess, and you've made your ancestors very proud. The courage and wisdom you have acquired through this ordeal, this odyssey, will serve you well as you grow into womanhood. You will have a very prosperous life. Thank you. I really appreciate that, I said meekly, and then because I couldn't help it, I had to ask, but what about Mama? At first, I gave her the flowers. Then, when nothing happened, I realized they were intended for La Llorona. So I delivered them to the right person. But I'm still worried about Mama. Will she be all right without Papa? Your Mama is Mariposa too, tenacious and fierce, but generous with her love, the Virgen assured me. She will be transformed soon enough. From this pain, she too will gain the strength to fly. But now it is time for me to take my leave. Thank you once again for letting your heart be your guide. With that, the Virgen de Guadalupe, Tonantzin, our great mother in the sky, disappeared. Her splendid image dissolved into the brush, and I was left standing by myself in the shadow of a thin, waning moonlight. Will I ever see you again? I whispered, trembling all alone in the darkness. Will you ever come back to help us if we need you? Or must we face things alone from now on? Only the sun is alone in the sky, the Virgen's voice answered me from beyond the shadows of night. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel her presence all around me. I am with you every day. I am the moon, the stars, the sky. I am the river. I am the morning sigh. Remember, mi mariposa pequeña, you are one of many. You are one of us. At her words, a swarm of butterflies fluttered out of the hackberry shrubs and flitted around me, dusting me with delight. With her voice still echoing in my ears, I got on my bicycle and pedaled home. A brood of cheerful, incandescent, snout-nosed butterflies trailed behind me, glistening in the moonlight like fireflies, like hope.